All right, students, let's jump into guided practice where we're going to do some guided practice together. Students, it's very important that you read all the text on the paper. The directions above the paragraph or above the passage is going to tell you whether or not you're expected to make edits or corrections, or whether you're trying to revise the passage and make it better. So let's begin reading chorally. You'll read together with me. I'll start. 1, 2, read. Read the selection and choose the best answer to each question. Cam wrote this paper about an assignment he enjoyed completing. Read Cam's paper and look for any edits he needs to make. When you finish reading, answer the questions that follow. So the directions up at the top tells us that who the author is. It's Cam, and he wrote a paper. And the assessment or the practice that we're looking to do is to make edits. That means we're making things correct. So there are some errors in some of his sentences, and we need to catch those errors and fix them. So today we're looking at the time order transition words and complete subject or complete predicates, okay? So the title is called Roll a Pair. Let's begin reading together on sentence 1. 1, 2, read. Take out your math homework, my teacher directed. This was by far my favorite assignment because I love to make games for homework. My teacher asked for volunteers to explain their games, raised my hand, and was chosen to share first. I walked to the front of the classroom. I told my class about the game I created to help learn multiplication facts. Sentence 7. My game is double times, I said. Player 1 rolls 4 number cubes and groups the cubes in pairs. Then that player multiplies each pair and records the 2 products. The player rearranges the number cubes to make 2 new pairs and multiplies again, adding the products for the score. The game continues until one player has 300 points, I concluded. After I shared the rules with my class, I shook the cubes in my hand and announced, "Let the games begin." All right, students, did you hear anything that sounded kind of off in that? I was noticing a couple of sentences that I read, it just didn't seem or sound complete. Did you pick up on that too? Turn and talk to a friend or to a neighbor or to a elbow partner. Which sentence did I read that did not sound right to you? Turn and talk at this time. Teachers, go ahead and pause the video to allow students to figure out 1 or 2 sentences that didn't sound right to them. Stop the video at this time. All right, students, let's come back. Let's go ahead and look at the questions. Question 1 says, what is the correct way to write sentence 4? So I'm going to read sentence 4 out loud. Raised my hand and was chosen to share first. Raised my hand and was chosen to share first. So it says, what is the correct way to write sentence 4? A, I raised my hand to share quickly. B, I was chosen first and raised my hand. C, I quickly raised my hand and was chosen to share first. Or D, sentence 4 is correct in the paper. So, looking at sentence 4, raised my hand and was chosen to share first. Does that sound correct? No, it does not sound correct. It is missing a subject. We need an I. If it said I raised my hand and was chosen to share first, then it would be a complete subject and predicate. So which answer choice would be a correct way to rewrite? I want you to turn and talk to a neighbor. Would it be A, B, C, or D? Teacher, stop the video at this time to allow students to choose the right answer and justify their choice. All right, students, come on back. If you chose answer C, you are correct. I quickly raised my hand and was chosen to share first. That is the best way, or one way, to correctly write sentence 4. Let's go to number 2. Which sentence is not complete? So we'll remember from the mini lesson a little while ago that we know that every sentence needs to have a complete subject and a complete predicate. So let's look at sentences 1, 7, 11, and 12, and we're just going to find the one that is missing either the subject or the predicate. Sentence 1, take out your math homework, my teacher directed. Is that a complete sentence, students? Yes or no? You are correct. It is a complete sentence. Sentence 7, my game is double times, I said. Is that sentence complete, students? Turn and talk to each other and figure out, yes, it is a complete sentence because it has a subject and a predicate. Okay, let me have you back in 3, 2, 1. Sentence 7 is a complete sentence. Your complete subject is my game. Your complete predicate is double times. All right, let's look at sentence 11. Adding the products for the score. Turn and talk to a neighbor. Is that missing a subject or a predicate? Adding the products for the score. Who or what is the sentence about? And what is the subject doing? Do you think sentence 11 is a complete sentence? Let's put a question mark by H, choice H. Let's read sentence 12. The game continues until one player has 300 points, I concluded. Is that a complete sentence? What's the subject? The complete subject, the game. What's the complete predicate? Continues until one player has 300 points. So that most definitely is a complete sentence. So your answer choice is 11. Let's go to sentence 3. Which transition word could best be added before the words the player in sentence 10 to improve the flow of the paper? So we're looking for the best transition word that could be added before the words the player in sentence 10. So sentence 10, okay, it begins with the player. So I'm going to read 7 through 10 because I want to make sure that it is going to flow. So it says, my game is double times, I said. Player 1 rolls 4 number cubes and groups the cubes in pairs. Then that player multiplies each pair and records the two products. So I noticed that sentence 9 used the word then. And then, so it wants me to add the best transition word at the beginning of 10. And then I noticed sentence 11 does not have one because that is an incomplete sentence. Sentence 12 says the game continues until one player has 300 points, I concluded. And then 13 says after I shared the rules with my class, I said, let's begin. Okay, so would first be an appropriate, the best transition word? Would we say first the player arranges the number cubes? No, not first. What about finally? Is that the last step in playing the game for finally? No. What about suddenly? Suddenly the player arranges the number cubes. Is something happening suddenly in playing this game? No. What about D, next? So sentence 9 says, then that player multiplies each pair and records two products. Would it make sense to say, next the player arranges the number cubes to make two new pairs and multiplies again? Yes, the answer is D, next. Number 4, what is the best way, if any, to correct sentence 11? So we want to correct sentence 11. So I want you to turn and talk to your partner about sentence 11. We know that that is not a complete sentence. I want you to work with your partner to think about the way to correct it. Teachers, you can pause the video at this time to give the students a few moments to figure out what the correct answer is. Pause the video at this time. All right, let me have you back in 3, 2, 1. Did you and your partner come up with the answer G? G, finally, player 1 finishes the turn by adding the products for the score. That is the correct answer because that is the last step of how to come up with the score. So the appropriate transition word would be finally, and then player 1 is the subject. Finally, player 1 finishes the turn by adding the products for the score. Okay? Adding the products for the score remains your complete predicate, and we're going to add a complete subject phrase. All right, at this time, you're going to do your independent practice. You're going to complete page 9 independently. Then you're going to read the short story, The Sun and the Moon, and underline the subject, complete subjects in green, underline the complete predicates in red, and circle the transition words and phrases. Off you go. Until next time, bye-bye.